Good morning all, TGIF, thank God it's Friday. It's been a good week for us actually in the Quasidb service. We had a great success on the signals. We're up a lot, which is great. And we had an EG, Euro Pound signal trigger, and I'll talk about the logic for that and in a bit. But however, the risk calculation took a knock on the big picture. This tells us that they're shorting indices over the 24-hour average. Okay, so what we want them to do, we want them to be conditioned to be fearful and to short, and that will be normal behaviour, and then the stock markets can rally. However, the big picture, they're still long, so that's a bit of a worry. Of note, the VIX is below its yearly pivot, so hopefully you set an alarm on trading view at 26.5. Holding below that could be quite bullish. On the flip side, which is quite frustrating, we had a lot of spike on the US yields overnight, and we had an assassination attempt on the former Prime Minister in Japan, and they spiked a lot, a ridiculous amount. So whether or not it's that or they're bracing for a worse than expected NFP. So a fundamental perspective, we could be risk off, and at a big picture we could be risk off. However, the dynamic sentiment, we could be risk on. So VIX is below its yearly pivot, so currently quite mixed, so I would be careful, please be careful. And it's hard to say what's going to happen. I'll show you some sentiment on the US 30 and the S&P, and you can see how it's a buy, but you know, we've got to be careful. These yields, they spiked a lot. We might have a complete inversion on the yield curve. So that's going to be a recession fear warning. So remember 26.5 on VIX, we are below, which is interesting. EJ made a sell, but you can see how we got a mismatch. We want red and red, or we want green and green. So US 30 is actually green green in that it was a buy, and confirmation over time is a buy, so hence green green. And you can see there's not much dark colour there, so yeah, euro and pound, I wonder whether or not they might be technically oversold, especially against the dollar. The reason for the pound to do quite well is that they shorted it on the back of the UK Prime Minister resignation, which is like your gut reaction, oh, sell the pound because Boris Johnson's leaving. But if a million people do that, then obviously there's going to be someone else to take that trade, and so it does well because the dumb money, the small fry, the small fish have sold it, so someone has to take the other side of the trade. And so what happens, someone buys it because there's people selling it, right? So that's the reason for the pound. See, it's strongest on the H1 and then 30, H4. Right, so there's the logic there, the contrarian logic. There also has to be someone to take the other side of the trade, okay? And if the small fry are selling it, someone's buying it. If they're buying it, there's got to be someone who sells it, okay? And the dollar's lost a bit of ground on the H4, but however it is strong on the daily, weekly, monthly. So we're going to have a turbulent day today, and I'm not going to be trading today. I took the EG signal instead. I used a slightly larger size than I normally would, so this week I'm actually okay. But today I think it's just going to be a gamble, especially if we look at this. This is quite a mixed picture. You know, we want green and greens or red and reds. We've got a mismatch, so it all depends. And the NFP might induce some fears. If we got a very, very low NFP number, we could be entering like a recession. Like it could like cement those fears. And dollar's still in a strong buy. Aussie is in a strong buy, and Kiwi and Euro are in a strong sell. These are mixed, and these are mixed. I wonder what's going to happen to the yen bubble. We might gravitate down here, and if we do, then that's going to be quite risk off. And so yeah, be careful with the yen. Aussie's strongest and Euro's weakest. It's the same as yesterday. They're holding on to that bias. Snapshot where we are. So US 30 has flipped over to sell at the time of me taking this screenshot, and S&P is a sell, but you know the number is getting closer to zero, which I'll show you. So yeah, so this is that number getting closer to zero. When I say that, the zero line is your 50%. So that's the flip of the long, the bulls and the bears. So that's how the SSI is calculated. So a positive number is a positive number if we're above 50%, okay, and a negative number is if we're below 50%. So we see that we're getting close to 50%, and that's getting closer to zero. Once we go negative, it's going to be a buy. All right, so there's your level of interest. So if you're trading this, keep an eye on that. All right, and the reason for that to be important is that's where they shorted it. So if we fall below that, it'll just mean that those guys get paid, which can happen. It is Friday. And likewise, 30,800 for US 30, they shorted it there. So if we come down and broke that level, it would get to their break even. If we continue to fall, they'd profit. So that would be a surprise. Gold is a sideways, and we might be making a buy here, but it's hard to say what's going to happen. It might just continue sideways, and if they buy it or sell it, we'll see a direct impact on price, because there has to be someone to take the other side of the trade. Right? And especially if a million people do one particular thing, there's going to be a big transaction on the opposite side. This is much of a concern. So for example, the 2-year is now giving us a better risk to reward than the 30-year. So that's a risk-off sign. That's a flight to safety. It's saying that there's going to be troubles ahead in the short term, more so than the long term. Okay, so we want these to be down a lot, and we want them to probably stay where they are, to be honest with you. This is actually quite worrying. And I think they're probably bracing for an NFP report that's actually going to be worse than expected, and that's what's happening here. They're positioned themselves for a risk-off scenario. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. I think we could be risk-off today, so be careful. And we definitely don't want a flattening or an inversion. We can see how the curve is inverted now. So yeah, bit tricky. I'd be very careful. Quite a lot of mismatch. So we've got green, well, green and green. AJ is actually agreeing. AU isn't. A is, EU is, GU isn't. No, mismatch. An agreement on UJ, mismatch. So it's not as bad as yesterday. Yesterday everything mismatched. So it told us a big reversal was in play. Largest stop loss cluster is AU, which you can see there. It's a big column there, and the location of that stop is 67.50, and the size is 8.34. Dollar CAD was the largest mover at a 7% shift towards sell. However, the big picture is that we're buy. Alright, so that's like a mixed picture. And so that's that. Do note that the Quasidb code is going back to 10% discount. We're currently on a humongous discount. So if you're wise and savvy, I would go for the annual while you can, and use the Quasidb code while you can, because after the 1st of September, you only get 10% discount. So get the annual plan at this huge discount while you can. After the 1st of September, it's going to cost you $31. If you subscribe on a yearly plan, you get it for $10. So it's a huge saving. So do probably do this. You do want to get the FX SSI indicators. Whether or not you can afford the $31, I don't know, but $10 is definitely affordable. Okay, and also you could probably argue it is worth it because you should be making money using the indicators because they are amazing. Yeah, get the annual plan. Failure rate is very low. Euro's got a 0 score, meaning that they're getting paid on their euro bets today, and dollar's got a very low score. Pound's got a decent score. So what I would do, personally, I wouldn't enter now because this is worse than a casino. I'd wait for 60-70% and enter something that you had eyes on, and then you know that the trap's been in place, and so you know the sentiment is going to work. At the moment, the sentiment isn't going to work because it's got a low probability. I'd wait for 60-70%, and then you know you've got that behind you, knowing that the retail guys have got trapped, and so you can prey on them. So that's that logic. So have a bit of patience, and also it gets you out of gets rid of FOMO as well. So you've got like a metric to work against. So don't enter below 60 or 70%. and that should be quite easy. If you're getting FOMO, then I might be able to help you. Just let me know, but it shouldn't be too bad. You just have to be patient, you know. Signals, we had a 42 pip gain, which is really good, and the reason for that, it was quite clear, is that the retail guys, their instant reaction when they heard the news about the resignation, sell pound, and so they all did it as a herd and they flocked together and they got punished. So it should be quite obvious, and this is the reason I took the EG with a larger size than I normally would, because I knew that the retail guys would do that, right? And so it goes to show what happens, they get punished. There's a summary. Remember, we want daily summary, so you're just interested in summary daily. Okay, so you're not interested in 5-15 hourly, just daily only. And so in news, strong sell, see, for example. So we've got CAD data, employment data, and we've got NFP. We've got an inflation rate out tomorrow morning, and that could be a bit of a mover when we open on Monday. So I'm going to wrap up now. Bit of a mixed picture, but you know, that is trading, so you have to decide what you want to do. I'm going to take the executive decision and probably sit out, I think. But you've got your levels on the indices. If you want me to look at anything, let me know. Euro USD is looking to make in a buy as well, which I need to mention, but I put so much stuff in the technical channel, it can be a bit overwhelming, so maybe less in the technical channel and more in the summary. That might be better. It might encourage more people to check the bulletin as well. So I'm probably going to go down the pub for lunch, I think. So let me know if you need me before 12 o'clock. After 12, I'm probably going to be out. And it's a lovely day out there as well. So have a great day, you guys. Trade safely. And I'll be back on the weekend or on Monday if I can think of any videos. So I'll speak to you soon.